Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today I'm here to do the genre book tag. Not to be confused with the book genre tag. This is the genre book tag and it was created by the lovely, very inventful Harriet Rosie. She comes up with the best tags, tag videos. And I almost feel like she could nearly devote her whole channel to doing tag videos and I would just gobble them all up because they're so interesting. Anyway, she tagged me to do this. I was tagged, guys, so I'm going to hop right in. The whole point of this tag video is to kind of let your subscribers know a little bit more about you as a reader. I think it's really smart. So let's dive in. The first question is, what are your favorite genres? So I have a whole list of favorite genres. First is historical fiction. I'm just going to hold up some random books that I pulled from my shelves that represent those things. Historical fiction. This is The Invention of Wings. I seem to really enjoy World War II. I just actually recently rearranged my shelves again, and my historical fiction now is in like the order of events essentially, and I have two whole shelves just for World War II. This is not World War II, this is more just after Civil War or during the Civil War. I also really enjoy Civil War historical fiction. Yeah, but I would say mostly World War II is what I seem to have on my shelves at least. I don't have a ton of earlier historical fiction, like 1500s. I think I might have like one or two books. So it's mostly like the 18th century, 19th century, a ton. So, and then also the 20th century, a ton. So I love historical fiction. I really, really do. And then, I mean, you guys know me. I love myself a good thriller. I really enjoy, this kind of suggests everything. This is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I really love psychological thrillers. I like violent thrillers because I'm weird. I have a hard time with domestic thrillers that are light on the violent factor, I would say. If I am going to read a domestic thriller, I really need to get into the heads of the people and I need to like be completely absorbed with those people. Like Gillian Flynn did Gone Girl, which is a domestic thriller. I like those, it's one of my favorite books of all time. And yeah, getting into the heads of the characters in my thrillers is really important. I need fleshed out characters. It can't only be about plot, but I want my plot to have lots of twists and turns. So yeah, I love a good thriller. I also like horror, but I find that I seem to lean towards, a lot of the time at least, I lean towards ghosty horror stories. This is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. There's just something about the idea of a presence that you can't get away from, that you can't stop, that can hurt you, that I really love. I've always been obsessed with ghosts. Like my entire life, I have loved the idea of ghosts. I don't even know if I fully believe in them or not, but I'd like to because they're so much fun. So yeah, I would say I like horror. I mostly lean towards the paranormal kind of aspect of horror. I don't like body horror. I found myself to just really, for the most part, not enjoy it. I did like The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which was filled with body horror. But I think I just like his writing for the most part. But yeah, more paranormal than any other kind of horror. And then I love a gothic story. I mean, Jane Eyre, yes. All of the Daphne du Maurier stuff. Yes, I love a gothic book so much. This is probably my favorite genre in a way because it usually blends historical fiction with something a little sinister. There's usually a bit of a a mystery involved, and I just love the Gothic fiction genre. And then I've got a bunch of nonfiction here. I have learned that I enjoy specific kinds of nonfiction. The first is true crime. This is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, and I adored this. I thought it was really well written. It wasn't entirely written by her. For the most part it was, but she died before completing it. So I really do enjoy true crime when it's well written and thoughtful, because it's important to recognize the victims were people and they left behind people, and those people that died, you know, have left an enormous hole in these people's lives, and there's not a lot of comfort. It would probably be really insulting to read a book about your family member that was murdered if it's not done respectfully. So I like respectful true crime. And then something that I would like to start getting into a little bit more that I'm really enjoying is historical nonfiction. I just finished The Splendid and the Vile recently by Eric Larson. This takes place in the London Blitz and like follows Winston Churchill dealing with the Blitz, dealing with World War II, and it was so fascinating. This is like chock full of little bits of information, and it can be overwhelming. But the way that this was written was really, really good. So I'm learning that I like this. I also read The Five this year and loved that. So historical nonfiction, although The Five would, I guess, be true crime. Interesting. And then memoirs and autobiographies I really enjoy a lot of the time. It must be written well. A lot of people have interesting lives and amazing things happen in their lives, but if it's not written well, that's when you get a biographer, I would say. But for autobiography and / memoir, I really enjoyed Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. This is about a therapist who goes to therapy. It's super interesting. I learned a lot about her and myself through it. So yes, those are the genres that I would say I reach for the most, that I really enjoy the most. Wow, we just spent so much time on question 1. Okay, question 2. Least favorite genres. I would have to say romance. I don't usually like romance. It does depend. When it's fluffy, and I know going into it, this is going to be fluffy, it's okay. But for the most part, when there is romance thrown into a book, like a historical fiction book, if I pick up a World War II book and I just read historical fiction and then there's tons of romance in it, I struggle. But yeah, I wouldn't usually pick up a romance book. And then YA, in the past at least I should say, YA has been like a miss for me most of the time, but I have been starting to pick up books that are YA that I've been enjoying. Scythe, for example, I've really enjoyed. I started to read the Selection novels, which is very silly, but I enjoy that, which is romance, but I knew it was romance going into it, so I don't know. Maybe I don't mind romance. I'm learning so much about myself. As you are learning about me, I am learning about me. But yeah, I am trying to get more into YA, but I also really allow myself to put those down if I'm not enjoying them. Give yourself permission to DNF stuff. Question number 3, genre you want to try. I would say I would like to read a little more sci-fi dystopian, both YA and adult. So for example, The Testaments. How have I still not read The Testaments? I've had this on my shelves since the day it came out. And I loved The Handmaid's Tale, but I still haven't read this. But I'd like to read a little bit more dystopian sci-fi. And that goes for, you know, that's adult. And then YA as well. I've learned that I really love dystopian YA for the most part, not always. I also wouldn't mind trying more historical fiction YA books. I don't like Rita Sepetys. I've tried her before and I don't like her writing. But someone on my channel recently mentioned that I would like, oh, I'm forgetting her name now, but she wrote The Girl in the Blue Coat, which is World War II historical fiction. I found that on Book Outlet. It's on its way, as well as another one by that same author. And she writes YA historical fiction. So I wouldn't mind trying more of that genre. Subgenre? Yes. Number 4, genre you don't want to try. You know, fantasy. It's so funny. I feel like saying that out loud on BookTube, I'm sure a lot of people are going to go, but why? Why are you even here? Because there are so many fantasy booktubers, and I totally respect it. I understand, you know, getting lost in another world. The appeal of that I could definitely see, but I myself really struggle with fantasy. I love middle grade fantasy, so I will say that. Harry Potter, I mean, yes. The Golden Compass, yes. But yeah, I just don't like adult fantasy. Question number 5, a genre you're not sure about. Police procedural. So, or any sort of series really that's in the detective-y genre. So, I do have, and I have been really into the Frida Klein series. She's a psychotherapist that gets involved with the police force and cases and that kind of thing. So I've been swept up away in that. And I do have multiple authors that I really, really trust, and they have a whole series. So for example, Kate Atkinson. This is the Jackson Brodie series, so I intend to get into that. And then Karen Slaughter has 2 series. I'm starting at the beginning with Blindsighted. I have several other books of just like one in a series. The Armand Gamache series I've got up there on my shelves. The Tana French series, I've got one of hers there. So I'm like not sure because I don't always enjoy them. I really need to really love the detectives, and it can't be too repetitive. Like I read a book recently where you're following the perspective of the person that this, you know, trauma is happening to, who's been kidnapped or whatever. And then you're following the police detective trying to find that person. And I found it just repetitive. Like the police detective was just repeating like, and this is what happened to this person. Even though you just found out in their own words. I don't like that. So I really struggle with it, but I want to get more into it. I'm just not sure all the time. Question number 6, a genre blend that you love. Okay. Guaranteed, almost always I am guaranteed to enjoy any book where they blend historical fiction with contemporary. So, especially if it's a mystery kind of thing. For example, The Lake House. Anything where you meet someone in the present who is seeking out a mystery from the past. I usually like that. At least I am always attracted to the story. If that blurb comes out and it's like, this author is coming out with this book that has this thing in it, I will most likely buy it or read it. I will not always love it, but a lot of the time I love this. It's like my version of comfort read is probably this. Question 7, genre defying book. I have 2 genre defying books. Sorry. So one is in a series. I only have book 2 and 3 here. But it's his Dark Materials series. So I read this, the Golden Compass, I should say. These are the next 2 in the story. I read this for my children's literature course that I took at Queen's. And my prof was saying, at the time at least, most of the time book owners and bookstores didn't know where to place those books. They didn't know whether to put them into fantasy, children's literature, YA. I think people have leaned more towards YA now, but I took that in a children's literature course. So it's interesting, and I think that's definitely a genre-defying book. Another genre-defying book, and one of my favorite books of all time, is The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. This is a ghost story about a family who have a ghost in their crumbling mansion. But this is horror, this is historical fiction, it's also literary fiction, because is there really a ghost, or is this is the ghost more representative of the demolishing essentially of the upper class and the rise of the middle class? So good. So I would say that's definitely genre defying. Those were all of the questions for the genre book tag. I really enjoyed doing this, and you learn clearly a lot about yourself when you're doing this. So if you want to do this tag, please do. I am going to tag Amy Poole. I'm going to tag Science Mama. I am going to tag Katie from Life Between Words. Those are the people I'm going to tag. I hope you are doing well. Oh, I'm going to tag one more person. Vicky from Vicky's book Nook. It's not Vicky from chapter 32 anymore. It's Vicky's book Nook. I hope you are well. Sending you love, and I will talk with you soon. Bye, guys.